Alright, so since you have to make sure that you set up an appointment with the librarian, I do have some steps for you to be able to go and watch to look to see how you go to the resource page and how you submit the verification for having met with the librarian. But I also want to be able to show you exactly where to go. So you're going to go to the Wayne State University Library homepage. You'll see at the top that there is a resources link, and down at the middle there's a place called research guides. These guides have been developed by librarians who specialize in various different discourse communities. And so you'll see a long list here, and you'll also see that depending on whichever discourse community that you're in, some might have more than one discipline linked to the site. We're going to go to English because in the English Research Guide there's actually a site developed for 3010. You'll see that on every resource guide tab that there's going to be the picture of the librarian who's the specialist for that discourse community. Judith Arnold is the specialist for the English discourse community. She's a great lady. I work with her all the time. You'll see that all of them have the email me function. They'll usually respond within a day or two, and they can set up a online chat so that you can conference with them. You'll also see that there is an Ask a Librarian link as well. This one is just for general information. It's not going to give you the specific information necessary for studying your own discourse community, but it still can help you with basics when it comes to navigating the library database system. So if we were to go to the English 3010 resource guide, you'll see that Judith has created library guides for students, databases by subject, so you can search if you're in criminology or if you're in biology. She also has a core scholarly journal list from quite a bit of different discourse communities that you can access. There are also two different links that are really useful when you're first starting out researching a topic and you're not familiar with it. So one is the Gale Virtual Reference Library. This is an online encyclopedia, and it's going to give you just the basic information about a topic that you're interested in. So if you're interested in, say, genetic testing, it's going to give you the history, it's going to give you definitions, it's going to give you uses. Very user-friendly, very easy to read. The CQ Researcher Guide is going to be on the same topic, but it's going to be about what's happening and what people are saying about that topic now. So it's going to give you current debates about genetic testing, how it's used right now, what people say about it, etc. So these are excellent sources for you to go to, and you're going to need to go and visit your resource guide for your discourse community, making sure that you contact your librarian and ask him or her questions about the database systems, the journals, the articles, basic information that is necessary for you to complete Project 1. You'll see that also there are project requirements that are listed under the Project 1 folder as well as a Project 1 description. But I bulleted a few of those requirements and we're going to talk about them. So one thing that you'll see is that in your essay you'll have to start with a definition of discourse communities that then leads you to discuss your own discourse community. And you're going to need to use the course readings that will read Swales, Johns, Wainwriter, and any other types of lectures that you want to draw on. And you're going to have to cite those in your paper as in-text citations and in your reference page. You're also going to need to talk about the mechanisms of intercommunication and genres that are used in your discourse community. That means that you need to talk about how do people communicate goals, knowledge, ideas in your discourse community, and what genres do they use to communicate. For instance, in the field of business, communication tends to be less scholarly and more day-to-day and practical, so they're going to use business memos, emails, they're going to use reports, they'll conference. So the genres that they tend to use on a daily basis are less technical and scholarly. But they do certainly use and develop genres for research, and you will find those as you investigate your discourse community and talk to the librarian in your discourse community. You also need to tell me as the reader where these intercommunication tools and genres are used. Are they used within the office? Are they used on a day-to-day basis? Are they more abstract and used for publication and for research? Are they collaborative? Are they individual? And where do you find these genres? Do you tend to find them in the profession, in the day-to-day office? Do you tend to find them in research journals and articles and database systems? You also need to talk about the major conversations that your discourse community has, and if those conversations have changed over the years. So you want to talk about what is it that this discourse community privileges, what kind of knowledge are they trying to develop, what do they typically publish and research in the field. Has that research, has that communication changed over the past? For instance, nursing is one of those fields where in the past it was very much predicated on practical knowledge and very much on scientific inquiry. But in the past 10 or 15 years, there's been an interest in psychology and patients' own perceptions of pain management or perceptions of treatment or perceptions of long stays in the hospital. There's also been quite a bit of research done on nurses and how they perceive stress, what type of abuse they experience, what they are concerned about when it comes to dealing with patients. So those conversations have changed in the past 10 to 15 years in nursing. So you'll want to find out if that has been the case for your discourse community. At the end of your essay, you're going to want to leave us with 2 to 3 possible research questions that's related to your interests in the discourse community and that's appropriate to your discourse community now that you've discussed what it is that your discourse community privileges, talks about, writes about, researches about. We're going to be using these research ideas and questions to further investigate your discourse community and eventually write a research proposal. So these should be ideas that are interesting to you and something that you feel you can sustain interest in throughout the rest of the semester. And you're also going to need a bibliography of sources that you've uncovered during your investigation and place that in your reference page. Some useful tips for you for completing Project 1, is that you want to read the project examples found in the Project 1 Blackboard folder. These are student examples that have been written in the past. They're not perfect examples, but they have their strengths and they have their weaknesses. Feel free to email me to ask questions about what I think works or doesn't work in those examples. Make sure that you don't replicate them completely because, again, as I said, they weren't perfect papers, but they'll give you an understanding as to what I'm looking for when writing this project. I suggest you also use a supplied outline suggestion that I sent via Blackboard announcements. You don't have to follow this outline to the T, but it is a useful source for you to consider how you might organize all of the information in your essay. And it's also a nice handy checklist of what I'm expecting to see discussed and covered in Project 1. Make sure that you meet with your librarian. You're going to have to show verification for having met and emailed your librarian and upload that verification to Blackboard in the Project 1 assignment folder. You might consider emailing and conferencing with me, either face-to-face or via Skype. You also need to determine what format you must use for writing in your academic discourse community, whether it be MLA or APA. A site that you can go to that will be useful for you will be the Purdue OWL. In the Purdue OWL, they have general and very specific overviews of APA and MLA formatting. If you are in the humanities and the liberal arts, such as English, if you are in art, dance theory, music, these kinds of fields, you'll use MLA. All others, criminal justice, psychology, business, engineering, pre-med, biology, you'll use APA. APA is very complicated. It requires quite a bit of different types of headings. It has a title page, an abstract page. You'll see that there's a sample paper in APA here. The point of this is to get you used to the type of format that you write, so I expect that you will be learning this format, so I will not be marking you down if you make mistakes. However, by the end of the semester, if you're continuing to make the same mistakes with the format that you're expected to write in, then of course points will be taken off. But for right now, don't stress about whether or not it's perfect. Stress more about whether or not you're providing in-text citations and references for all sources that you're using. And remember that right now you're just practicing this new type of writing and this new format, and that you don't have to be an expert. Another place that you can go for support, both in the format that you'll have to use, whether it be APA or MLA, as well as your own writing, is going to be the Wayne State Writing Center. I direct the Wayne State Writing Center, so if I'm not teaching or around campus, I will be there, so if you ever want to stop in to ask me any questions. The other thing that you can consider using is that we do offer online tutoring. And here's the link with all the information. We use Google Hangouts with Google Documents and Google Chat, so it's very user-friendly. You have to be present during the hour of the tutoring. The tutor will also be present and chatting back and forth with you, going over your paper. You can ask questions, you can revise and ask them how that sounds. There's a tutorial for students to be able to use. And you can also email me if you have any questions about that. Other than that, make sure that you email me if you have any questions, and stop in if you would like to talk with me face to face.